Awesome. And my alarm is going off saying that it is 2 p.m. in the East. So let me kick things off.
Holding us right on time.
Yes. Yes, I'm sure trying. All right.
When the event industry gets knocked down, we get back up. With live events returning, maybe it's time to rebuild. With a more flexible workforce, Cadre is the smartest way to contract event industry freelancers. Compliantly work with your own freelancers or access thousands of new faces from a single user-friendly platform. And with our addition of meetingjobs.com, post your full-time openings on the industry's premier job board. It's time. Get back up with us. Visit us today.
Excellent. Well, welcome again, everyone. I am Kate Zeitvogel, the Marketing Director at Cadre, and I am thrilled to be joined by Meaghan Carfrey of Cadence today. Before we dive in, I'm going to shamelessly plug Cadre and Meeting Jobs one more time. We want to be your go-to solution for compliant contracting between event industry professionals. Whether you need F&B or transportation on site, or you're looking for some pre-event planning help, Cadre makes finding those right people, contracting them, communicating, and paying them a breeze. And if you're in the market for long-term permanent positions, head over to meetingjobs.com. It is our newest acquisition to join the Cadre team. And between the two of us, Meeting Jobs and Cadre, we provide a complete complement of compliant staffing options. So check us out, hirecadre.com and meetingjobs.com. I also want to take a quick moment to mention that beginning in June, which is next week, which blows my mind, but starting next week in June, we will be going down to just 2 Cadre Talks for the month. So mark your calendar, June 3rd and June 17th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We will be here. Enjoy those other Thursdays watching someone else. But now let us dive in with Meaghan. Meaghan Carfrey is the Director of Strategic Account Management for Cadence Meetings and Incentives, and she is a superstar in our industry. She was recently named 40 under 40 in the events industry by Connect, and Meaghan got her start in hotels, actually. So Meaghan, can you tell us a bit more about that? Where did you get started?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kate, for having me here. I'm so excited to talk my favorite thing, travel. Yes, I started my career in hotel sales. So I worked for Starwood, and then we became the metro market. So I actually sold 4 hotels in San Diego, and it was an amazing start to the industry, education, and truly a family environment. And then I have transitioned over to Cadence Travel. So we're located in this beautiful background behind me in La Jolla Shores, California. And it has just been an amazing 6.5 years with Cadence on their meetings and incentive team.
Excellent. So tell me just a snapshot of what it means to be the Director of Strategic Account Management for them.
Sure. So I oversee our accounts that have SMM set up, so Strategic Meetings Management. And we have some of our employees sitting in-house with our customers and just overseeing the strategic thought, how can we work better and think futuristic and strategically for them while still operating some really incredible, meaningful in-person connection between meetings and incentives.
How cool. What a great way to bridge everything. I love it. And I think that having you on today to talk about what we're talking about on the road is going to be a really hot topic for all of us, because we're all starting that transition period, but you've been traveling throughout this entire pandemic, right? So what's it been like? What was it like traveling a year ago and even 6 months ago?
I have been so fortunate. I've actually traveled, I counted before this call, 17 times in the last 14 months. I know, it's pretty incredible. I was one of 5 people on a flight going cross country on those massive Delta planes, and the other 4 people were airline personnel. So we were all sitting in first class, literally wiping the leather off the seats with our Lysol wipes. I was traveling with people in hazmat suits. And my favorite thing about 2020 back in the day was everyone would remain seated until it was their row's turn to deplane. And that was the best. I was like, we made it. We finally figured it out and listened. And now things look a little different. So I actually was just traveling the beginning of the week, and besides wearing masks on the plane, some of the options of food and beverage when you're flying really being limited or not even offered, wouldn't sometimes know that we were in a pandemic or are in a pandemic. Things look a little bit different.
That is just incredible. So you mentioned that you traveled a little earlier this week. I understand you were in Vegas. How was it? And how back to normal is Vegas?
Yes, it was an experience.
Isn't Vegas always an experience, Meaghan?
It is, exactly. So traveling up to date, like going to all of these different trips and conferences and site inspections, I always felt very safe and comfortable the entire time, knowing that our hotels and airlines and vendor partners were doing the right precautions to keep us safe, and those precautions work. So even going into Vegas, I went into it that same mindset. It was definitely a different demographic than our traditional clientele that we see walking through the casinos. I'll be honest, there were some times where I felt a little uncomfortable because you haven't seen cigarette smoke. You haven't seen smoke in 16 months. And it was kind of one of those things coming in your eyes and your mouth. So I would just pop my mask back on, even though it was not required. I think it was just extra peace of mind for me, not sure if it really didn't do anything, but in the meeting space, I felt incredibly safe. The company did a really great job keeping everyone safe. We were still distanced, although that was told on Friday that they didn't need to do it, that we didn't have to have the social distancing anymore.
Interesting.
The fire code, they just kept it as it is since the meeting started on Sunday. They did a great thing that I'm sure a lot of people have seen, the stoplight. So the red, yellow, or green sharing what your comfort level is. And I think that was really great. It gave the empowerment to have that confidence and the peace of mind. They actually did it on the lanyards. So we would just stick a lanyard ribbon underneath to say what your comfort level was. But internally, we were talking to offer each attendee a little pin when they check in, and maybe you give them all 3 colors. So that way throughout the week, if their confidence level changes, or maybe they feel like they're a yellow inside the space, but when they go outside to an outside function, they're a green and they feel more comfortable. So giving that space of making people feel confident and comfortable, and really over communicating too. There was one event that said it was going to be in a nightclub. And I was like, not quite sure if I'm ready for a nightclub yet.
Yeah.
But it was really just the event space that they were hosting the evening function in.
Huh.
So clearly communicating that to your attendees. If you are going to be putting it in a nightclub, specifying all precautions will be had, or maybe just say intrigued event space or intrigued and leave out the nightclub so people feel a little bit more confident, because maybe they're not quite ready yet in that situation.
Back into a dance club. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Oh, I remember those days, and I feel so old saying it like that. One of the things that you had mentioned was just keeping your mask on hand. And I think that that's going to be something that we're going to have to do for a while, regardless of the vaccination levels and all of that other stuff. Are there other things that maybe we didn't pack beforehand or didn't necessarily bring with us beforehand that you think that we should have on hand?
Yeah, so I hope that everyone was bringing this beforehand, but something that we keep saying to our customers and clients, and just our biggest piece of advice, is pack your patience and your kindness. If you haven't been traveling yet, or if you have been, airports are really busy. The flights are packed, hotels are full, especially on the weekends. That leaves there.
That shocks me a little. That's amazing.
It is busy. Travel is back, but things look a little bit different. Just like we were before the pandemic, having that flexibility and the patience and the openness to change, in addition to the staffing levels not quite being where they were before, and everyone just getting back to this new normal. It's a learning curve, and I think we all need to go into it with a bit of grace and kindness of just things are different, but being optimistic and positive as well.
Excellent. I think that that's great. Great advice just in general, right? But especially in this time, you mentioned that staffing levels are not what we are used to. Have you found that to impact any portion of the event?
Definitely. I would say the staffing for evening functions, restaurants, just the hotel in general, the response times are not as strong. And I think that's everyone just getting back into it and on site, knowing that your hotel staff might be doing 5 other jobs that they weren't previously doing. So their dedication to you might be stretched. Again, go in with patience and kindness, and understanding and communicating that to them, and really making sure that you're a great partner with them. Also reserving early. I think that this is something that things that you just used to do, and things like the ride share to and from the airport. There are not as many Ubers or Lyfts out there as there used to be, and the wait time is really long, and prices are a little bit more expensive too. So I've been recommending to pre-reserve those ride shares. If you know your flight time is getting in, or if you know you have an important dinner or meeting, make sure that you pre-arrange those so that your ride is on time, and that you're not waiting and making yourself late. Same with dining reservations. I was in Chicago with a few of my colleagues, and we were trying to find somewhere for lunch. I couldn't find a reservation in the entire city. So really making sure that you have those restaurant reservations, plan ahead. It takes a little bit more caution and thinking, but I think that it's going to give a better opportunity and experience to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, I'm not terribly surprised by not being able to find a table, I suppose, in Chicago, but really, that's amazing. I know that one of the other things that a lot of people have been experiencing is a lack of rental cars. Is that something that you have encountered also?
Oh, yes.
So it's true.
I'm sure you've heard about that chip shortage, the
yes.
microchip shortage. So, and also with rental cars just being sold for cash flow and trying to get them back, we are seeing rental cars be very limited, as well as extremely expensive. So I think my biggest point for this is just reserve early. If it's something that you are planning on doing, take the time to reserve it early and go in knowing that it might look a little bit different than it did a year and a half ago.
So fortunately, a lot of us are planners to some extent, whether we're freelance on-site staff or actual in-house planners. So I think that planning ahead is something that we all should be good at doing. But now we need to just factor in some of those things like you're talking about. You can't just walk right up and do. So I think that that's something that I'm going to have to incorporate when I start traveling again. How's the food options in an airport? Is that something that I need to also plan for? It's because if the city of Chicago won't find a table, will there be options in that airport?
So I actually have found that about 75–80% of the restaurants and the food service is open in the airport.
Okay.
I will say the lines have been really long for them. So making sure, now I don't live a mile from the airport, so I am giving myself a lot more of a grace period, but it's also nice just to stand in line, grab that coffee, grab that snack. The food on the airlines, each airline is a little different, but I know American gives you like a tiny bottle of water and a Lysol wipe. So they're not coming through with snacks or sodas or beverage options. So really thinking ahead and grabbing that snack so that you have it on the flight is important.
That is important. I'm one of those people that hangry was coined for, I think. So having that snack on hand is important. And now that I know, prepare for lines is really what it sounds like. Pretend I'm at Disney World and there's a fun ride at the end of that line that's going to get me to where I need to be.
Exactly.
One of the things that I think we're all trying to skirt around and we're curious about is proof of vaccination, because so many of us have gotten vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated, yay. But are you finding that your clients and others are requiring it? Are they requiring that proof of vaccination, not insurance, proof of vaccination?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we've been really lucky actually with our clients and our clients leadership team that they've been really courageous and risk-taking throughout this entire year. And it's been remarkable to see their in-person connection commitment to have this and working through the whole life cycle of the year that we've had. But for COVID, the vaccine proof, honestly, I think we're seeing a lot of that honor system, just like the CDC is doing and just saying, here are the rules. It's that honor system and matching the CDC guidelines. So I think that's what we're seeing a lot of our customers doing is, if you like honor system, you're an adult, make the decision for yourself, make the decision of how comfortable you feel, and not as much strictly seeing if anyone has been vaccinated. I think another thing we are seeing is testing has become so much easier and available, even with the at-home test kits that you can find on Amazon or in the drugstores. So although it's not required, these are really great options to just instill that traveler confidence and company confidence as well.
That's great. I know that earlier you had talked about planning ahead is so key. And I know that confidence is building because vaccines are prevalent and they're getting into arms, which is great. And so that confidence to host an event is building, which makes everyone on this call so excited. Yeah, it's such a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have, I would imagine that things are starting to get, especially if trying to find a table here in Chicago right now is difficult. I would imagine trying to plan an event in this atmosphere has got to be a bit of a challenge. Any tips or tricks that you can suggest for people?
Oh yes, business is back. It is really, really incredible to see and the excitement level, but with that, it's a lot of demand is out there right now. So it's really, really critical to book those programs as soon as possible for the remainder of the year and for future years. Basically, we've taken 2 years of business and compressed it into months where we already had business, and pair that with the confidence and companies who are eager to meet, we're seeing that the rates are much higher. There's definitely not fire sales out there. We're seeing the rates higher and incredibly limited availability. So it's definitely time to get moving, but at the same time, if you or your company or your clients are feeling a little bit apprehensive of travel or hosting meetings, speak up, like make sure that you share that. I think on this call, we have really incredible contractors and planners and travel directors, and they are going to meet you where you are with your emotional state and your confidence. And if you're feeling like you're a yellow, but someone's calling you and feeling like you're green, let's go, green, green. Speak up and share that with them to make sure that you're going into it confidently, and because everybody else is. Everyone is already planning and getting out there. So we want to make sure that we get you the best that you are looking for your future meetings.
Excellent. And on that comfort level scale, I know hybrid events are going to be part of the future, at least for a good long time. But there really is no comparison to that face-to-face meeting. So I think that really we all need to focus on planning things out, right? And we need to focus on communicating more. And those are our two big takeaways from the pandemic. We need to communicate better. So that's incredible. We've just gotten a question in our Q&A area. What industries are you working with that have moved to approve business travel?
So we actually have a very diverse clientele, which is really wonderful.
Yes.
We have pharmaceutical companies that have done this, mortgage, insurance, healthcare. We have a very diverse range, and all of them are coming back. I will say with that, the business travel is, so we actually have 3 divisions, and sorry I didn't share that before. I sit on our meetings and incentives team. We also have a leisure department and a business travel. So we actually thought that our meetings and incentives team would be one of the last to rebound, just given the guidelines and social distancing and numbers. But I'm so excited to say that we have had an amazing recovery and growth and rebounds, and people are excited to travel again and eager. Business travel is coming back the slowest for us, but we're definitely having our team have those conversations with their travelers and talking about travel policies and things like that right now.
That is great to hear. We love hearing that it's busy and building and coming up again. That is wonderful. Let me ask another question that just came in. Have you seen for in-person events a new on-site position called a pandemic protocol manager? Basically a person that is in charge of all vendors and staff to make sure that they are adhering to pandemic guidelines while on site. Is that something that you've seen?
No, that's a great question. I have seen mixes of this. I'm sure as we go back in, I think that that's a great staff person to hire and have in there. I attended MPI's WEC, and they had walking around in the meeting space a little sign that said "Mask up, y'all," and just kind of that mask police in a way. But I think it starts beforehand in the planning stage. So I think that that would be an amazing resource to incorporate in the planning to make sure that you're thinking through the whole life cycle of that program, from transportation to the food and beverage, and even the meeting room setup. So I think it's a great position that we will see. Talking about staffing too, staffing numbers, especially as you incorporate the hybrid and the on-site and kind of those different roles, are going to be critical. And I think that we're seeing the staffing numbers increase because you have so many different groups of attendees that you're catering to and giving them an experience. So you might have someone that is there for your strictly on-site person, your attendees, your virtual attendees, and then even more human arrows as we might require some additional space with the guidelines that we're seeing for social distancing. So more staffing, I think, is something that we are going to see across the board.
It doesn't surprise me, but it's interesting to hear you say that. And I think that a lot of the freelancers on this call are thrilled to hear it as well. And I imagine that, especially depending on the communication coming from the organization, that's got to affect the energy on site because people are feeling a little anxious, a little nervous right now. Have you found that that's the case, that people are feeling more timid when they're on site than normal?
You know, I actually haven't. I think
people
probably, if you haven't traveled yet, you have those apprehensions when you're packing your suitcase, trying things on and they don't fit after a year.
Yes.
Having that like apprehension of travel. But muscle memory is such a wonderful thing. And I think we all fall back into it so quickly and we remember how to travel and what that looks like. And even though those conversations are awkward at first, coming back, we have Zoom, that it's been a great communication, but when you're in person, it seems a little bit more awkward at the beginning.
Sure.
But then everyone's guard gets let down and everyone is just so appreciative and excited to be with each other, seeing old friends, meeting a stranger, sharing a glass of wine and toasting each other in the lobby. I think it's something that the energy has been really incredible and people are gracious and excited to be there and complimenting everyone and just really excited to be out again.
That's so beautiful to hear. As an introvert, I definitely have that anxiety, and I'm sure that the first time back out on the road, I'm going to be awkward as hell. So it's kind of nice knowing that I'm not the only one out there that's feeling this, that's experiencing this, and being able to let guards down faster, I think, is not just a byproduct of this pandemic, but it's going to help our relationships build faster, stronger, I think.
Well, and it's so, we all went, although we were in the same storm, we were in different boats, but we all went through this together. And I think that that's something so special that we have to acknowledge that this year has been really hard, not just with the pandemic, but so many other things that have happened this last year. So really understanding where other people are and meeting them there, but realizing that it's not you either. Everyone's feeling it, and we're all kind of in this awkward stage together, and we're going to come out of it, and soon that muscle memory and will kick in, and we're very resilient that we'll get through this.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I know that we are all looking forward to that time. I've got my bag ready so that whenever they start calling to say we're going back on the road, I can go. We've got 5 minutes left, Meaghan. This half hour has flown by. If anyone else has other questions, please feel free to pop them in here right now. I'm going to see if there's, check that Q&A area real fast for something. See if anyone's popped anything in there. Nothing yet. No worries. Come on in with your questions. But Meaghan, I think that you have touched on so many different aspects of being on the road, whether it's in the airport, trying to get around in that new town, and just knowing to pack your patience is absolutely important and really vital information, because so many of these places are not functioning at the level that we are used to. So I think that you had brought up that, you know, people might be working 5 different job descriptions than they were used to. And I imagine that there are a lot of others on this call that feel the same way right now. We're all trying to juggle a whole bunch of things. And so having that another shared experience, I think, will also help us all come out of this not unscathed, but closer and stronger overall. I think that's great. So we'll wrap it up. We've got no other questions have come in. Oh, wait, one just popped in. All right, Meaghan, what have you found to be the greatest challenge for food and beverage, travel, and function spaces?
Oh gosh.
I know, that's a big question.
The end there. I think right now the availability, as everyone's coming back into it, so working with your customers and your clients to really talk about, are things flexible? What does that look like for you? Can we move a different date? Can we move a different week? Also gone are the days for food and beverage that you can add on site and say, hey, can I change my lunch? Or can we do this reception? We have to really think through things a lot more because of staffing levels, because of shipping, because of the food and beverage. And they might not have everything in-house during the week. Oh. Maybe it's only on the weekend. So really thinking through the inventory with that, and planning ahead of time, and just going into it knowing that you might need to be a little bit more flexible to get what you're looking for.
That is great advice. And on that, I think that I will say, Meaghan, thank you so much for joining us. You have been such an inspiration for us to get us back out onto that road, not just quickly, but safely as well, and with the confidence to do so, because I think we are all finding, you know, where we are on that confidence scale. And I loved what you said, giving people options throughout the day. Go from a yellow to a green to a red if you need to. So Meaghan, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week with another CadreTalk at 2 p.m. Once again, this was Meaghan Carfrey of Cadence Meetings and Incentives. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Thanks, Kate.